I am ashamed to say this, but I used to be a Frieren hater. I remember watching the first 3 to 4 episodes and dropped it. I thought this was buns. Why do people like it so much? Why is it so highly rated? I must be missing something here. And what I was missing was brain cells. See, I came to the show after seeing a clip of a really cool action sequence, and a wise man once said, "The eye sees what it seeks." I was only looking for action, wondering who's the big bad they're gonna have to fight, and ended up ignoring all the other good qualities that exist in the show. So once I come back in, treating the show as its own thing, rather than a, here's a starting point, that's the end goal, here are a bunch of obstacles you have to go through. Once I opened up that skull of mine and dug out that idea and a couple sinful, abhorrent things that were clouding my judgment, I instantly fell in love with the show. And by the 10th episode, my third testicle had fully grown. I've been enlightened. This show has it all. Everything that I love. The characters and the story are great, the emotional scenes hit, and it's not often anime scenes can do that to me, because I'm just super fucking cool, but for me it's the fact that most of these characters don't have crazy, exaggerated anime expressions all the time that makes it so when they react strongly to something, it feels so much more genuine and it carries a lot of weight, and I really feel it. Also, the message of the show is very relatable, it's very human, spend time with the people you love before that time is gone. Appreciating the little moments, staying in the present, and focusing on the journey rather than the destination. But what I want to talk about is how well this show handles its action. And it has plenty, but it's just they're not fighting one big bad and you have to go through their minions first and it feels like you're progressing. That stuff already happened. However, the show has some arcs where they fight. And my god, is it fucking hype. Believe it or not, this show does building up and hyping up something or someone and then rewarding you with a big scene in such a satisfying way. It's not like a new concept or anything, but it's done extremely well. Shout out to the one member, appreciate the support. Now before we continue, I just want to address the elephant in the room. I do not goon the Frieren hentai or any Frieren NSFW art. Now that that's out of the way, episode 7 is where we get hard. Drad comes in to confront Frieren in her cell, and this is the part where I really started locking in. I was invested from this point onwards. Now it's essential to know how Frieren usually is for a scene where she says a couple words to go hard. From the beginning, we know Frieren is a great mage, extremely powerful, part of the hero party, defeated the big bad demon king, but she just looks like a very peaceful elf. Nowhere near hostile, doesn't seem like someone who can literally twist your balls with a snap, and she enjoys collecting random non-combat spells, like making grapes sour, which is because Aizen once told her his favorite food is sour grapes. Pretty cool detail. But yeah, she just lives her life day by day doing whatever like a grandma. She's very deadpan, but also does random goofy things, and that contrast makes it pretty funny. Look at how excited she is to make a rock dance. Overall, on the outside, she's stoic, seems like she's allergic to fun, but she definitely has a personality, her silly habits, and is overall pretty unserious. Episode 7 comes around, and the world turned upside down. Frieren tries to assassinate the messengers of peace, demons, so she gets locked up and we learn about Aura the Guillotine. She's a part of the big 7 sages of destruction, super strong, served the demon king. Then Drad comes in, he kills the guard, pays her a visit to kill her, because Lugner says that she is a threat to their plan. She knows how demons really are. But they don't know that that is Frieren. So Drad walks in like he owns the street, I serve Aura, I'm strong, I'm just gonna remove an obstacle, it's gonna be like wiping my ass after taking a dump. But little did he know, he's going to be met with the infinite poop glitch. No matter how hard he wipes, the stain will prevail. Frieren, before she does anything, pops off with some dialogue. She warns him that she's strong. Drad asks, "Stronger than me?"
俺よりもか?
断頭台のアウラよりも
Stronger than your boss. And she drops it in such a cold, calm, menacing way. Hearing this, I had to sit up in my chair and lean forward. No more funny, lazy, sleepy, charming Frieren. She's locked in. And you can see the switch flip. Once a demon is in close proximity, she activates like a sleeper agent. She wakes back up, her soul flies back into her body. And we're about to see the Frieren who defeated the Demon King. And it's kind of something similar to Saitama. We know he's super powerful, but it doesn't have a menacing look, and it's not a very serious guy until he locks in. And when you get the moment, your penis grows an extra inch. And I love that. I'm a big fan of that. Anyway, after hearing that, Drad still thinks he's in the driver's seat. And we'll learn why in a bit, but for now, Frieren just pulls a Oh no, you really have me cornered here, whatever should I do? Oh, cuts off both his arms, 2 hands on his neck, and instantly vaporizes him. Zero hesitation, no yapping, she does not care what he has to say. And it's pretty cool to see. Demons are just evil. Frieren will kill demons 8 out of 7 times. No annoying scenes like, oh, they burned this entire town and skinned everyone alive, but really, they're just misunderstood creatures, they didn't have a choice. No. So, Frieren escapes prison and runs into Fern and Stark, and she tells them that they should go defeat the 2 demons to save this town. Without her help, because she has to run away from the law. And just look at her cheeky little smile as Stark's fearing for his life. So Frieren senses Aura's massive amounts of mana 10 kilometers away from where they are, and she's ready to give her a good spanking. And this is the start of badass Frieren. Night falls, Fern and Stark execute their stealth operation, they go in, rescue Granite, the ruler of the city. Stark snuck into the room, but the 2 demons caught him, and Lugner's cocky ass tells Stark to just go away. He doesn't even look at him, he doesn't even care about Stark. To him, Stark is just a speck of dust on his left toe. So Stark says, I've had enough of your bitch ass, I'm fighting you right here, right now. Even though he's scared, he starts swinging at him. Stark is just really Zenitsu, but better. So he catches him with his pants down, but blood manipulation is pretty broken, he stops the bleeding, and Stark eats an attack. However, he's just distracting him for Fern to come in with a sneak attack and unleash Zoltrak on him. And he's lucky Fern didn't have time to charge up that Zoltrak, cause if she did, he would have been Toji. Lugner is stunned, because that wasn't the Zoltrak that he knows. That spell felt like it was engineered in a lab to specifically gape demons' assholes. It was forged to eviscerate them. One shot that and Lena is disintegrating. And so the 2 escape, they get Granite to safety, and then we get one of the coldest scenes ever. Lugner is trying to understand what that blast was, and he realizes that the way Fern moved reminds him of another mage who once hit him with the exact same deadly spell. And the scene transitions to Frieren. And Frieren's character design is always associated with gentle, peaceful colors, mainly white, blue, green eyes, mostly lighthearted colors. But now, her clean clothes are stained with blood, and she's not looking so bright anymore. And we see what Frieren is seeing, and it's just bodies of demons everywhere, as Lugner's on his knees beyond helpless looking up as she slowly descends. Stone cold face with a bit of blood on it. It's Judgment Day. She's here to claim their souls, and they're all on the naughty list. And the soundtrack hits almost as hard as Zoltrak. This show has some mega bangers. So now we get to see badass Frieren. And it's the contrast in character that makes it so cool. She's not cool because she's the strongest, she's cool because we don't really see her like this. Now she's super serious and we learn that she's killed more demons than anyone else in history. She's been hunting them down for centuries. To the demons, Frieren is the boogeyman. Except most demons haven't heard of her because they don't get to live to tell the tale. And this is the Frieren who a couple episodes ago was shaking seeing a skeleton. The flashback ends, and then we see her pull up on Aura, in the exact same way Lugner remembered. Same cold, menacing stare, and for the cherry on the tip, we get the title drop. So no Frieren. 私の嫌いな天才だ. So no Frieren. Dum 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 dum. 私の嫌いな天才だ. Actual chills. And the moonshots are so beautiful. Also, somehow it's even cooler in Japanese. In English, it's just Frieren the Slayer, pretty cool. In Japanese, Soso no Frieren. So Soso no means something like to bury or send off, and reading the title of the series and watching or reading the manga, you think it's because Frieren outlives all her friends. But now we learn that it's a double meaning. Yes, she does watch a lot of her friends die, but it's also because she sends demons to their graves. And it's such a cool fucking reveal. I'm geeked out of my goddamn mind. I thought this show was about a silly, charming, detached elf with beautiful animation, and all of a sudden my penis is hard. And I just realized that Frieren and Fern's Zoltrak is different from the normal human version, because Lugner said demons overcame them half a century ago, and I thought he was referring to the black Zoltrak Qual invented. But he does know that humans came up with their own Zoltrak, the white one. Yet he was still surprised when Fern hit him with the spell and it reminded him of Frieren. So theirs must have been modified in some way just for killing demons. which is pretty sick to see how ruthless she is against these demons. Anyway, Lugner is able to follow his blood on Fern's clothes and ambush them. Fern gets stabbed and Line pulls out an axe and swings at Stark. Now Lugner's crusty ass is still a cocky piece of shit. He could have killed Fern, but he wanted to catch her off guard just to get back at her. And even now, he wouldn't even pay attention to her, as he says she'd be dead before she could fire off any of her spells. And then, we get another cold fire scene from Fern. We get a little flashback to hype up her ability as a mage. Fern asks if she's useful to Frieren, so Frieren says she's butt cheeks compared to her. But only in terms of mana and technique, because her speed at casting spells is even faster than hers. Now that is a great scale. She's faster than a great mage who's killed more demons than anyone else in history. So instantly, you know shit's about to go down. Lugner's about to get his anus blasted. And we come back, Lugner tries to pull a fast one and she instantly reacts. Then, Zoltrak, the OST comes on, and my god is it fucking hard. Fern's just walking at him, shoots one in front, one behind, doesn't even need to look at it. Cold ass stare, slow walking. Lugner's balls begin to soften, and she pulls out the machine gun on him. And you can't tell me that this is not sick. Fern was worried about fighting this guy, and now look at her. Staff behind the back, she's just in flow state, moving like water. Every single movement is clean, it's precise, it's smooth, it's calculated. And she just completely owns him. Lugner is having regrets. Man went from, I'll slice your head off before you even realize it, to, I should buy time and wear out her mana. But Fern wags her finger and says fuck you and just spams basic attacks at him, and he gets hit. Now he's calling for help, quivering in his diapers. Line, help me, this girl's beating my fucking ass! Now Line and Stark's fight is also sick. Line can read people's mana and copy their movements, and so Stark kinda just gets bodied. He's got the strength, but she's got the technique. And Aizen gets glazed. Line says she recognized the way he moved when she saw him fight. It resembled the strongest warrior in her memory. Chills. The hero party really was putting the fear of God in these demons. So she copied his moves and uses them on Stark. And he thinks it's cooked, he can't win. But he remembers Aizen telling him, as long as he gets back up, he hasn't lost. Come on, what's this? Is that an axe in your back slamming you straight to the ground? Stop being such a fucking pussy about it. Get back up and start fighting. That's a paper cut. So Stark said, alright, let me just do that. So he got up, and look at how beautiful the scene is. The music is great, the animation is amazing. And so Stark just goes in raw, zero plans on defending, and not defending he did. He hits an axe straight to the body. But luckily, Line hits like a malnourished child, so he's chillin', and he calls in a lightning strike from heaven to vaporize her. Meanwhile, Fern continues to spam Lugner into a corner, and this time he's fucked. She turns him to a crescent moon. Also, Stark's fight in episode 6 against the dragon has a really good build-up. He calls himself weak and talks about how he got into a fight with Aizen over it, and Aizen fucking socks him in the face, damn near pops his head off. But then we learn from Frieren that dragons are smart, and they pick their opponents, and that Aizen didn't hit Stark because he's raw ass, but because he was scared of Stark's strength. And the silence before Aizen says, Stark will become an incredible warrior. Cameraman on the drone flies backwards, camera pans out, Stark clashes with the dragon and the music goes crazy. Amazing scene. Anyway, now we get to episode 10. My favorite episode in the series so far. So Lugner thinks that Frieren's going to lose to Aura because her mana is significantly more than hers. But then he realizes something. Fern's mana pool is extremely tiny. So how did she spam her spells? Is it some sort of bug the devs refuse to fix? Is anti-cheat not working? What's happening? And so he put a fork and a toaster together and bang, he was enlightened. He realized that Fern is a scammer. And for most of this episode, it's just one big flashback. Frieren's not as strong here compared to her right now. Her village just got massacred by one of the Demon King's generals. And Flame comes across her and she takes her in as her apprentice. And Flame's mana is also very weak. It's like a sad, limped flower. Until 3 strong demons pop up. She looks at them and instantly blows them all up. In the blink of an eye, they're all gone, and so is the place they're standing on. The whole thing just disappeared. It genuinely looked like she summoned a meteor on them. And then we learn about mana suppression. Flame despises demons, so she spent her whole life suppressing her mana, Just like how demons deceive humans with words, she deceives them with her mana. Once those demons are caught chirping at birds or barking at dogs, bang, she blows them up in an instant. One shot. No long, dragged out fights, she just immediately removes them from existence right then and there. She is the CEO of catching them with their pants down. She is the embodiment of catching them with their pants down. And so she taught Frieren to do the same thing, and Frieren also passed on that knowledge to Fern. That's why we see her draw the little circle around her. And that's why Drat thought Frieren was an amateur and thought she was just saying shit. And it's just cool to see, instead of always having the antagonist deceive the protagonist because the good guys always have to play it fair, these three just said fuck that. And then RIP Flame, this is a really beautiful shot, and the flashback is over. Aura puts their souls on the scales. She's confident about this. Her mana is clearly superior, she's been training for more than 500 years. But little does she know, she's being deceived, she's being fooled, she's being tricked like a parent on Facebook. The scales tip over to her side, and she begins to walk in with a sword, thinking it's a free win. Finally, we put an end to this demon that's been slaying our race for the past couple hundred years. But then, all of a sudden, the scales begin to tip over towards Frieren's side. And Aura is just confused. So Frieren says, yeah, bitch, I've been suppressing my mana my whole life. You got bamboozled. Now Aura says, that is a pretty useless thing to do, why would you do such a thing? And Frieren agrees, she says, it is useless, but at least I won't be the one dying tonight. So Aura starts panicking, she goes into full denial mode. I've lived for over 500 years, this is an illusion, you're tricking my eyeballs. And the music here is so amazing, the way it dips for a bit and rises back up as Frieren finally stops suppressing her mana and tells her that her 500 years is nothing compared to a mage who's lived for more than 1,000 years. And look at how fucking cool she is. Insane amounts of mana just pops right out, then Frieren tells her to kill herself. Actual chills. It is so incredible. It's not an insane, fast-paced action episode, out of this world animation or anything, but the build-up into the climax and the pacing, everything else is a slam dunk. I think it is done really well. It's a really powerful scene, and I felt it. And from this point onwards, I just loved the show. If you had told me that a show that's centered around this small, gentle, white-haired, stoic elf girl would be telling a demon to kill herself while looking like a total badass, I would shit in my hand and slap you in the face. Respectfully. Also episode 11, the song Bliss is such a banger. Malay cooked up a crazy one. Anyway, they continue on their journey, walking around, and oh shit, that's my YouTube banner. They run into a bunch of cool people, like this kid, Sign, and Craft, and Fall. So we just get a bunch of chill stops, and the goat armpit girl appears, and then they run into a problem. They need a first-class mage to travel farther north, because it's dangerous up there. There's a bunch of demons. So we get the exam arc, and it gets real peak here. We get to meet a bunch more cool new characters, and for the first stage, they all get put into teams of 3. And they have to capture a stele, a little bird that can turn itself into a rocket and move at supersonic speed. Capture one of those and keep it with you till the test is over and you pass. Fern's group easily caught one, while Frieren deals with Kane and Luine. These two are great by the way, they're always on some bullshit. And eventually, by putting all 3 of their brains together, Frieren, and Frieren, they're able to lure the bird in and Frieren catches it with ease. However, other parties immediately come in to rob her bird. Fern's group gets attacked, it's a 3v3, Yubel is sick, she has, literally, just has Dismantle as her main attack, and Fern continues to rain fire on her opponent, pulls out an LMG, goes full Rambo on her, and then she unmutes her mic and starts shit-talking, saying mages of this era are a bunch of bums, you can beat them with a brick and some sticks, so she was told to only use ordinary magic on them. And she continues to bombard area with unlimited basic attacks and overwhelms her and just blows her up. She just hit her with the consecutive normal spells. And I don't even know if she's still breathing after all that. That doesn't even look like the work of an ordinary offensive spell. It looked like Fern turned herself into a Viltrumite and flew through her. Meanwhile, Frieren's group gets their bird stolen by Laufen, her magic is pretty sick, and they're about to get into a fight. And now we get a little introduction to the great mage Zeri, the most powerful mage to ever exist. And not gonna lie, seeing Zeri for the first time in the opening, I thought she was the final boss or something. She looked like she was gonna get up with a full health bar, you clear that, another one pops up, then she pulls out a Maharaga wheel, her health's now constantly regenerating, and all her attacks become unblockable. But no, also her voice is very majestic. If my ears could come, they would. It is a full-on ASMR experience whenever she speaks. It is a blessing.
合格だ。次。何が想像を超えるだ。
So then Richter lifts up a fat chunk of land to deal with the two, while Frieren fights Denken. And unfortunately for Kane and Lawine, they're kind of just getting bodied, they don't really have much offensive power. Then Denken pops his ult to quickly finish the fight before he runs out of mana. And Ganao, one of the proctors, says, "Don't worry about the barrier breaking, it was put up by Zeri, it's basically indestructible. Fucking immovable object." But Sensei tells him that someone's been analyzing the barrier last night. So he goes, "Okay, sure, was the person's name Zeri? Because if it's not, then I don't care, it doesn't matter, it's useless. You might as well try to squeeze water out of a rock." Now it's very important we get that line from him, because Frieren's gonna shrug off Denken's ult, comes up close, blows his ass up, then Laufen tries to pull off a quickie, grab Denken and escape, but Frieren grabs her up like a cat, she ties the two up and says she's done analyzing the barrier. The two are confused, and Denken gets shocked once he realizes what she's going to do. Frieren has concocted the kryptonite for this barrier, but Gena still says it's impossible even if the world were to flip on its ass. So Frieren pulls out her geometry spell, triangles forming everywhere, and with a blank expression, she unleashes a massive beam straight into the sky, and it shatters the barrier like a sheet of glass. And the two proctors go, "Oh shit. Hold on, let me check the participants real quick, what's her name? Frieren. The last great mage." Chills. Really badass scene, and the soundtrack is so epic. Even Zeri, the strongest mage, is impressed. But for me, I think the main thing that really makes the scene insane is the soundtrack. Sick ass scene. Then Laufen goes, "Why'd you do that?" And she did it so Kane can fight freely, because she manipulates water and the barrier was blocking the rain. And since magic is all about imagination and visualization, she asks if they can imagine themselves winning against a mage who manipulates water in the rain. And she says she can't. So now we know Kane's about to go absolutely nuclear. It's just awesome. Frieren got her hype moment, and that turns into another hype moment for another character. Kane in the rain is basically Megumi with all his Shikigami tamed. So rain pours down, Richter immediately wet his pants, and he gets his arm frozen for no more than 2 seconds. He looks back up, and Kane is about to drop a whole lake on his head. And if a lake floating on top of you isn't bad enough, Lawine made sure to bind his feet. And Richter lifted his hand off his mouse and keyboard and said, "Fuck my life. I knew I should have brought the damn umbrella." So Kane completely flattens him. His defense spell was pretty much non-existent, she didn't even know he cast it. It's insane how Kane just becomes an absolute demon in the right circumstances. So 18 people passed the first stage, and the second part is hype. If you were Titanium Heart before, the second part is gonna have you gush out semen like a fountain. On a more important matter though, why are there so many gigantic food portions in the show? They're pretty cool though. Big ass burgers. Also, Frieren is an absolute beast. Raw dogging at least 10 steaks, no sides or even God by her side, just a cup of water. What a fucking demon. Then they all get a letter for their next exam, and why is Matode doing this? Anyway, they get into the second exam, they gotta rate this dungeon, go into its steepest part, and you pass. Everyone forms their own groups, these 5 are together, this guy's going in solo, make sure we keep track of him and see what happens to him later on. The 5's fight against the gargoyles was cool, it's always sick to see Laufen fight, super speed, it's always amazing to see personally. Matode showing us a little glimpse of what she can do. I feel so bad for this girl by the way, I don't know how to pronounce her name without sounding like I'm spitting on it, but it's Langa, I think. Anyway, she's super tiny, and look at how cute her little staff is, she got a little star on it, and bam, gets blasted. Flies into the most horrifying trap there is in the show. The walls begin to close in on her, and she has nowhere to go. A dream place for all claustrophobes. She was about to die in such an agonizing way. I'm surprised Matode didn't see that blast come in and go, "Get down, Mr. President," and jump in and save her from it. Thank God the golem comes out and she gets saved. Hopefully she reappears for a collab at the party later on. I highly doubt it, but she seems sweet, she's always reading a book. I don't even think she had a line. Anyway, so they continue walking around and they have to fight clones of themselves. The action looks fantastic, it's beautifully done. It's pretty crazy on anime with 28 episodes able to maintain this quality. So Matode blows up fake Lawfin, they all walk up to the door, let's see what awaits us behind this ordinary looking door, they push it open, and what greets them is something they couldn't have possibly been prepared for. Immediately I recognize those feet, and everyone begins shaking. Matode is such a blessing, sit on my face. Then we see the arm, the long hair, Denken fought her once, and he says if this weren't an exam, that bottle's breaking at supersonic speed. We wouldn't even be having this conversation right now, I'd be gone. And then we see Frieren's clone blocking their path. And it is so sick, the music fits perfectly as an example in my other video, the sync. Also, honorable mention on that video, Cyberpunk Edge Runner spoiler ahead for all the people who are, living in the past. Lucy on the Moon with fake David and the silence before the chorus of the song. Beautiful, the sync of pain, despair, and agony. Don't worry, I won't play the song, wouldn't want to go around traumatizing people. But yeah, even her clone is sick. 4v1 and they are still shitting bricks. Now the real question is, who thought it was a good idea to close the door behind them? So clone Frieren charges up her first attack, then concedes and says, run. If you prefer all your limbs intact, start running. This Frieren isn't going easy on you, she's using all her spells. Luckily it doesn't follow you around, it just guards the door, and if it follows you around, everyone's breaking their fucking bottles. Yubel fighting her clone is also an amazing scene. Madhouse cooked up a Michelin star meal with this one, not a single non-memorable angle from her. We're talking about the highest highs of the armpit shot to another high of a low angle utilizing a shallow depth of field for that amazing shot between the legs. Blurry foreground, clean background, amazing. So Edo and friends fight Sensei, she falls over, gets escorted out, and Frieren and Fern make it to the final door. And Frieren's pretty excited to see her clone, so they all try to come up with things to defeat her. Matode's basically on a vacation right now, and even Frieren couldn't resist her. If she was left there for a few more seconds, a motorboating session would definitely not be out of the question. Then after a bit of brainstorming, Fern says, I will kill Frieren myself. Fern tests out her Grandmaster plan and finds out that Frieren's mana detection breaks off for a split second whenever she casts a spell. So she can be caught with her pants at her ankles, but it's such a tiny window, it's a window for ants. It's basically like a sniper blinking every time they shoot. And they have to take advantage of that little fucking microscopic penis window. You might as well be hunting for unicorns. It is damn near impossible. But, luckily, Fern's the GOAT when it comes to concealing her mana. The two enter the arena, the door behind them shuts, the fight starts, and it is a blessing to the eyeballs. The two are using the same spells, unleashing on each other, 2 hydrogen bombs going at each other, crazy, insane style, and there's a coughing baby on the sidelines with the diffuser. This scene is so unreal, by the way, such a cool scene. The camera flipping between the two, the real one and the clone. It's so amazing, it's always a treat to see Frieren going from this to looking like she came out of the devil's vagina. The clone fires back, Frieren dodges, appears above her, and Frieren can fucking teleport. And before she can blast real Frieren, we get a flashback. Frieren's talking about how it's hard even for her to detect Fern when she conceals her mana, and how she was born with Zoltrak, molded by it, so she's goated when it comes to its casting speed. She's got quick cast on, so her Zoltrak can catch her off guard and kill her. The hype before the action. We also get the conclusion to Kane and Luine's conflict, that's also pretty important, and it appears to be a tie. Though the people on site do not appear to be very happy, they're all saying Luine should have won that, she clearly had the upper hand throughout the entire fight. And I agree, Luine had her in positions you wouldn't wish upon your worst enemy. But the judges have decided. Then we come back, Fern waits for the perfect moment, comes out the side in a really cool slow motion scene, and it goes into another flashback. Frieren's talking with Zeri, and we learn about how goated Flame is. They go on a walk, we see little Flame, super wholesome, cute little things going on. Zeri says, humans will eventually take over, and it'll be the Demon King or a human mage that can kill Frieren. And we see little Fern. We also get this beautiful shot of the two elves talking about magic, but they're facing in the complete opposite direction to show that they view magic very differently. Obviously, if you were watching the show with your eyes open and your ears listening, you would already know that, but it's just a little cool thing. Then we come back to the action. Frieren moves to the side as the clone's casting a spell, and Fern from the top rope with a sniper rifle, bang, blaster, extremely quick. This might be a hot take, but I actually enjoy a little flashback in the middle of a fight to explain certain things or hyping up the action that's about to unfold. I think they're awesome, but they can get diabolical though. If it's a full episode flashback, we're going all the way back to the fucking dinosaurs. Those are hot stinky ass. But this is still in the amazing zone. Anyway, the next episode, the animators all did a line and just went crazy with the pen. A fucking black hole has joined the server. The soundtrack's going crazy, some shit begins exploding, Frieren is just standing there, ice cold, and just look at how cool she is. Fuck yes. And the coolness comes out naturally. It's not like all of a sudden Frieren is acting nonchalant to look cool. She's always had a stoic expression, but now she's just fighting like crazy, which is something we don't really see often because she's a mage that's more on the peaceful side, compared to Zeri at least. Then we see Yubo fighting Sensei, a powerful mage everyone in the dungeon has been struggling with, and it's the same thing, flashback to hype her up into a big moment, she completely one-taps her. Back to Frieren, her clone's going wild, lots of spells being unleashed, so she says, time to pull out the big dog. The mimic spell. No. We get to see their discussion before fighting the clone, so Frieren explains that the little mana detection gap won't be enough to kill her, so she'll pull out some massive spell to create an opening. And Fern can use whatever she wants. If she thinks she can win, they will win. And that's because she underestimates her. The music comes back on, it's hard, I'm fully erect, my screen's fucking shattering, reality's breaking, Clone Frieren fires out a massive original Zoltrak, I think, and Frieren takes a bit of damage. This was crazy, it felt like seeing Gojo get touched, it's like Superman bleeding. Well, I mean, that's a bad one, I feel like Superman bleeds pretty often. But thankfully, once again, Agent Fern with the sniper rifle from not too far away lands a clean shot, and she just showers the clone with infinite Zoltraks. And then, once the smoke fades, we get a really badass scene of Frieren's clone. She stares at Fern menacingly, and instantly, Fern gets propelled backwards at incredible speed, reaching the speed of Mach fuck off, and it's not even a spell, because Fern doesn't sense any mana from it. Hands free as well, no hands. So this is the height of magic, Fern says. But that's her trump card, and real Frieren pops up behind her, she's completely defenseless, blows her up, and she praises Fern because it's been about 80 years since she was last forced to use that spell. I'm assuming it's against the Demon King. Really hope we get a flashback to see that fight later on in the story, that'll be pretty cool. So Frieren breaks the crystal, the exam ends, Lofin was hiding for dear life and survived. Methode went crazy against Fern and lived, and she was the one getting ambushed. Goated. Also, the guy went solo who sounded like he knew what he was doing. He looked like he had a trick up his sleeve.
なぜ協力する流れになっているんだ。徒党を組んだところで仲間を助ける義理は俺は一人で行く。
Turns out he only had shit in his pants. He was a lost puppy in there, he didn't know where to go. But he did break his bottle and survive. Where the fuck even is this? Where was he going? He was just walking randomly, just going to random places, left or right. Eeny, meeny, miny, oh fuck, how does it go again? Shit. But yeah, that's season 1, hopefully we get Kane and Luine back for one of their trips, same with Yubo, Lofin, and pretty much just everyone. Also, the ending song is so amazing, the opening as well, first opening, second opening, the ending, all of them are so good. Season 2 has so many fights, they're encountering stronger and more demons because they've entered the northern plateau. Also, Frieren is actually more expressive this season. So they run to this demon, and maybe not all demons are bad after all. I feel like we should maybe give this demon a chance in society. But the big fight in Season 2 is episode 7 and 8, and it's actually a big fatty one. And this time the part is collabing with Methode and Genau, and Methode is looking sexy in this new outfit, though they should really consider giving her a bigger coat because dear lord, that shit's about to bust before I do. It looks sick though, doubt she can breathe. So this village was attacked by demons, and Genau and Methode get summoned to take care of it, same with Fern, so they run to each other, team up, and before they go out and try to assassinate these demons, they actually analyze the corpses. That way, they're not just walking in blind, praying to God they don't meet anything weird. Pretty smart. So now they know that the big bad wields 4 magic swords, and is a demon general, so we can expect to quiver in our boots a little. There are also 2 demon mages alongside him, and that one little demon who's super expressive for some reason. Now the demon, Revolte, knows that if he goes in 1v5, he's getting cremated. So he destroyed multiple villages around that area, and knows that humans often stay in villages to protect corpses, so eventually they'll split up and try to look for them. And Genau and Stark are indeed staying behind while the 3 go look for the demons. Then we get some chill, goofy moments, Methode giving head pats while Frieren enjoys her free grimoire. Also, it's funny seeing Zeri getting her head patted and just how terrified she is of Methode hiding behind Genau like she isn't the closest thing to God in this world. And she's just stopping the hunt to out Frieren for a bit, very nice. But immediately, they notice they've been detected, and we go from this funny scene to locked in. One of them uses a fog spell to block off their vision and mana detection, and they pull a sneak attack. Frieren and Methode looked up, they saw this and said, oh hell no. Methode quickly went left, Frieren went right, she grabs Fern, they start flying away. So it's gonna be these three against these two. Except that's a lie, it's gonna be a 2v2 because Frieren's gonna make an active decision to become a spectator. There's no anti-Frieren barrier being put up or anything, she's not being forced out, she has said, you're good to go, you got this Fern, you're a first class mage. As Fern almost loses her head. And actually, it's gonna be a 1v1 and 1v1 because now they're separated. Also, Methode must be physically gifted or some sort of special agent in another life because she is just weaving through these attacks with ease. She's not even using any defensive spells, she just has her hands behind her back, dodging all these strikes. And these two demons are Zorida and Hemming. Zorida is pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. And while this is happening, the other two go against Revolte. They yap for a bit and start fighting. The two move around, dodging his slashes, easing into the fight, until Genau says, fuck it, Amara farming, I'm just gonna stand here, and standing there, he did. But then, all of a sudden, Genau gets possessed by the spirit of a world champion gymnast, and he starts doing crazy amounts of flips toward the enemy. And I don't even think he stretched or did any warm-ups beforehand, he's just raw dogging that bitch. And this guy pulls out fucking wings. I thought it was gonna be a case of Stark, you go frontline, you tank, while I blast him from afar kind of fight. But no, it's gonna be a hands-on 2v1, no spamming spells, we're all getting in the phone booth and beating the fuck out of each other. Stark, of course, doesn't really stand a chance against this thing, he's slithering around with 4 swords, 10 times his weight, and is fast as hell. Genau gets a little scratch, and Stark tries to block an attack, gets overpowered, takes a hit, but it's all part of the plan, because now Revolte's guard is down, and Genau comes in, cuts his tail, and gets a slash across his body. Now I have to say, this opening part of the fight is a little quiet in my opinion, the soundtrack is a little too calm compared to what we had in Season 1. But anyway, Revolte gets completely slammed, one little hiccup and is fried. Genau has him. However, there's a kid nearby, so he pulls a dirty move, tries to assassinate the kid, forcing Genau to block it. But turns out the kid's a demon who shapeshifted and she stabs him. Genau did not let that slide, he immediately sliced her in half. However, he is cooked, he's given up, they can't really win if he's this injured. But that's when Stark comes in and he's able to block his attack. Stark is scaling in the fight, is buying more items, is getting stronger, so Genau locks back in and they get back to it. Meanwhile, Fern is still in shambles, she can't really play to her advantage because while in the fog, Hemming, the demon, sees everything she does, no matter how well she conceals her mana. So while everyone is really just getting blasted, Frieren's having a blast. She's just floating, she found herself a nice view, she can spawn in a cup of tea and just relax. Now personally, the coolest part of this whole fight is Methode. Zorida dodges her offensive spell, she manages to get close, but Methode is just different. She doesn't even use a shield or any spells to block her strikes, she is just extremely smooth, she's moving around like a dancer. And there is no reason for the scene to look this majestic. Slow motion, Methode moves out the side and the sword glides right through her hair. Then a projectile gets fired out from her sword, and once again, another slow-mo shot. Methode just calmly, magnificently sidesteps it, and she even looks at it as it passes by her. Clean, absolutely beautiful, and she does have a defensive spell, she's just not using it. She doesn't need it. Zorida gets close, she quickly turns around, blocks it, staff flies directly into my face, falls back for a beautiful back walkover, and another slow motion shot. Madhouse really wants me to orgasm. Zorida barely dodges the kick. Methode gets up, the staff falls perfectly back into her hand. She spins it around for cool effects and fires out her spell, but her opponent's able to deflect it with her sword. What a beautiful fucking sexy sequence. God bless animators. One Punch Man's sacrifice was not in vain, one of the greatest sacrifices in history. You will be remembered. Okay, apparently her name's not Zorida, that's the Japanese pronunciation, her name's actually Zolida. I believe that's how you pronounce it in German. I probably butchered it, but anyway, she gets a sick ass shot. So Metode realizes she's gotta do something about the fog. And she says,
少し暴れますか
the gloves are coming off. And she just goes crazy. She turns into an absolute maniacal beast. And the scene is also just fantastic. All of a sudden, she's dishing out spells like flyers, destroying everything. And she goes in to use her restraint or hypnosis magic on her. Solita cuts her hand, but that's an illusion. And she's behind her, and she grazes her with her attack. And judging from her fighting style, Solita is able to come to the conclusion that she's from a clan in the Northern Plateau that dedicated their whole lives to hunting demons. Fucking banger. Meanwhile, Revolte is going ballistic, is going cyber psycho. Genau gets tossed aside, is getting fucking slammed around like a kid playing with his toys. And honestly, despite me getting on my knees and fondling the balls of the series, the animation, the soundtrack, the characters, I think by far the single most impressive thing is Gennao's durability. How is this man still going? He was about to give up one stab in and now he's still here suffering more injuries than ever and is still fighting. Harder than ever. Also, demons in the show don't regenerate. I'm so used to seeing demons in anime just instantly regenerate, so it is cool that their surprise attack did do something. It's not just something that's just going to get brushed off, it'll stick throughout the whole fight. Now Revolte feels pressured to end the battle. Then Stark throws his axe to help. It does fucking nothing, might as well throw a pillow at him. So he starts doing parkour, and the soundtrack here is pretty good. The start is, it's alright, but it gets real good. So Stark tries to take the back of this thing, and the two ended up falling off the little structure. Genau picks him up, drives by to grab his axe, and he just zooms in like a fighter jet and drops Stark off like a bomb. Stark uses his ability, and Revolte's sword breaks. The injuries are making it harder for him to maintain the mana in his swords. And the soundtrack syncs as the scene switches to Mami Motode, and it is just beautiful. The violin's going crazy, Matode's spamming shit, Solita feels like shitting, and Motode goes, "You're cooked, buddy. I love magic and I find it fun, so I know more than just combat spells." So she's able to analyze the fog and come up with a counter, and it is super crucial to point out how hard this part of the soundtrack goes.
戦いしか知らない者は
She blows her magic. Phew. The fog dissipates. Hemming says, "Alright, that was dumb, I'll just make a new one." However, during those few seconds when he was thinking about something else, Fern's gone. It's a horror movie. You take your eyes off the ghost for a split second and it's gone. And all of a sudden, the moon seems to be getting a little brighter, almost like it's getting closer. Then you hear the sound of impending doom. The Soul Truck soundtrack. Fuck yes. Hemming gets jump scared, loses half of his body, and instantly evaporates. This soundtrack is really just a blessing to humanity. Solita tries to engage, but instantly gets her path blocked. She starts freaking out, goes into the forest to hide. She can't see where the super speed missile's coming from. She's just in the sky somewhere. But unfortunately for her, Motode says, no hiding, and wipes out the entire forest. Fuck them trees. Solita is able to shoot herself, but now what? She has nowhere to hide. Fern from the moon with a sniper rifle, outside of her mana detection range, snipes her to oblivion. Soul Truck. Goosebumps. Beautiful animation, beautiful music, wiener wet, what an amazing sequence. Meanwhile, Stark and Genau found ways to break all his swords, and it's over. But Revolte is able to stretch his arms and use them like spears. The two get penetrated, massive holes in their bodies, and the situation here is looking pretty grim. But he goes ahead and says the forbidden line, "I win." Stark hears out and says, "I gotta keep the tradition going." He cuts his arm, charges up his attack. Revolte tries to save himself, but fails to realize that Gennao's not a human being. Blood loss is not a real thing, he doesn't fucking believe in that shit. And he holds him in place. So Stark goes in with his cleaving light attack sponsored by God and condemns the demon. And Genau finishes him by cutting him to pieces. He got his revenge, and the two fall over. But they live because Methode comes in with the healing magic. Then they chill at the village for a bit as Stark heals up. They're no longer eating bricks pretending to be bread. Also, it's a crime they didn't get Methode into the party. It would have been so nice to see her with the party. But yeah, episode 10 also has an amazing fight with a big cat that has insane footwork, but Sniper Fern strikes again. And the final part of the finale is also really beautiful. Stark is wondering why Fern is always encouraging him and why she even believed in him in the first place. And she says that's because that's what Frieren would do. Tears in my eyes, from Himmel to Frieren. What a beautiful show. Also, the ending song here slaps, and Frieren is once again spending money on useless things, and she praises Fern in the exact same way she did in the finale of the first season. And at the very end, we see Denken assigned to maintain and manage the barrier around the Golden Land. And manga readers, when they hear about this arc, they start foaming at the mouth. So I am excited. I personally haven't read the manga, but people are talking about it like it's the discovery of fire. So I'm excited. Denken's gonna go up against the last and strongest demon of the 7 Sages of Destruction, Mach of the Golden Land. And just from the music, I'm already bricked. My favorite one from the season by far, and the full soundtrack gets even crazier. So if the soundtrack here sounds insane, once the actual season drops, it is gonna be peak. Season 3 couldn't come any sooner. Hopefully there are more episodes this time. I feel like Frieren Season 1 really benefited from having 28 episodes. But yeah, that's it.